Now it's time for tip-episodes with quick tips you should know. Techniques you can implement into your workflow right here on A Tale, oh yeah, A Tale of Two Hygienists.
All right, welcome everyone into this week's tip-episode. I'm joined today by Lacy Walker. Lacy, welcome back to the show.
Yes, thank you, Andrew, for having me on again.
This is our remote recording, Germany and the United States coming together over the internet.
Yeah, gotta love those time zones.
So, Lacy, the reason why we're on today talking with you is I saw that last week. I think it's been almost exactly a week that your book dropped. And I think that's just an amazing thing that someone could take the time and dedication to write a book. I don't think I have the patience for it. I don't think I have the attention span for it. And there's a few of you in the dental industry who have taken the time to do that. So I was hoping we can kind of dive into, what the book is about. And then maybe if we have time a little bit later on, we can talk about like the process of writing and editing and things like that. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I think first things first, the book's called Choices, right?
Yes.
And so is this a biographical, like this is about you, or what's the premise of the book?
So the premise of the book is to kind of share some of my experiences based on kind of an innocent and jocular comment that was said to me a long time ago. And it kind of stuck with me and affected not only my mental health, social health, physical health, and mental health, but it kind of inspired me to write, to get my thoughts and emotions out on paper. And then when I started writing it, both my husband and my daughters, they're like, no, just write a book. Why don't you just write a book? Inspire somebody else, or maybe somebody else is going through the same things that you've gone through. And so that's when I started writing it into a book. So maybe it would help somebody else.
Yeah, it's interesting the things that people say that are kind of flippant, offhanded comments or remarks, how they can have like such a lasting impact. Do you feel like this, like the comment that was made to you was made with intention, or do you think that it's just something that stuck with you based on your personality type?
I believe it was kind of, because one of the chapters is choose your words wisely, because, not only words can have an impact, but food can have an impact on you, long-lasting, second and third order effects on you long-term. So I kind of wanted to morph those two together, not only just the words that were said to me. It kind of affected, my mental health and physical health. When that was said to me, I think it was just more of a joking comment, like, hey, you better suck in that gut because you look like a root beer belly. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what what they were trying to imply, but I was like, okay, I was only 7. I'm like, so yeah, it was, yeah. But most, teenage, it usually happens like body dysmorphia and those kind of body image issues start around the teenage years because they see people in magazines and models and celebrities and think they have to be that way too. And yeah, so it did affect me mostly and, physically.
So the word choices, or the title Choices, do you go into then more than just like the physical act of like making a choice and choosing a choice, but like choosing words, but also do you dive in deeper about like food choices and things like that? Or is that just, because I know you're about health and nutrition, like you've been about that for a long time. Is there a chapter in there about that?
Yes. So there's also, it's a mini kind of a partial memoir in a way. Some things related to family choices of food choices, what we could afford at the time, what our parents knew at the time back in the 80s, the low fat diets, all these different fad diets that, a diet really doesn't work. But it also kind of plays into the choices you make in food and how much you consume, how it affects you. Kind of along those lines of the oral and systemic health. I tried not to be too sciencey, but kind of wanted to be a little bit educational at the same time.
Which is right up your alley. You're very much an educator by nature.
Yeah, try to be.
So the audience, what are you hoping that the audience gets out of the book?
That be careful, be more empathic on the words you choose, and then also understand that not everybody is living like a lavish life. They have things that they don't want to share with, the majority of the people. But also, if you do want to share your story, have that be vulnerable, but like yourself in the process. And I recently read a book that kind of really motivated or inspired me a little bit more to write my own book. It's okay to be disliked if nobody likes your book or your article or your speech. Like the first time I spoke on at RDH Under One Roof, I know there were some people that kind of had some comments, and I appreciated those comments because there's going to be people that are going to be your critics or your cheerleaders, but you really want coaches instead because they do both. Because the first time I spoke at RDH Under One Roof, it was a week before I was transitioning over to Germany. So I was, before, that, I was sleeping on an air mattress. It was my table. It was my bed. So I had like bare minimum items. And then going to the hotel and trying to speak for the first time. And yeah, the nerves kind of hit just a little bit. But yeah, then all the transition of moving over to Germany, it was a little nerve-wracking, I guess you could say.
It's interesting to me. I think that in today's day and age when, social media I would say, social media is everywhere. Like I'm breaking the news to everyone, by the way. But it just seems like, the goal of social media is to be liked. It's to get likes and followers and fans and this and that and the other. I think society is telling us differently than what you're saying right now, where it's like, no, it is okay to be liked. How does someone kind of buck the trend of literally the whole world now of social media?
Right. I mean, it's hard to be liked by everybody, but it's okay to not be liked because not everyone's going to be your cup of tea. But I did read something that if you have the courage you want to step out of that comfort zone, because I was probably one of the most shyest introverted people you could meet, especially if I didn't know you well enough and to trust you, because I had some trust issues early on in my childhood because I was robbed a few times in my childhood home and had a gun held in my hand. So yeah, it took a while to trust people because that person was supposedly a trusted friend, but which kind of discouraged me from trusting people and applying for certain positions or publishing articles. It just really affected me that I'm not good enough as well. And I read something the other day that even if you don't think you deserve like a raise or a job, just apply for it anyway. Or because I had self-doubt as well that, my article's not going to be good enough. I don't write as good as these other people. Just go for it. Publish it anyway or share it with somebody and see if it gets picked up.
Lacy, I know you. Like I've talked for years and years and
Yes.
years. I never would have assumed or even guessed. I mean, you can pay me $1 million. I never would have guessed that you had a gun held to your head as a child.
Yeah.
Like you don't. I guess that's kind of maybe part of. What's that?
I was a teenager at the time. Yeah.
What? I guess that's probably the point that you're trying to make with a lot of this is like you can't look at somebody and just assume like that they have it all, that they're, like you're someone who, to me, especially when I first met you, you are highly educated, you know your stuff, like you worked with the podcast for a long time, doing the CE stuff, like you're the trusted person that we chose because you're so good at what you do. And then coming to find out that, by the way, there are trust issues, there are these. You just never know. It's absolutely incredible. I'm so grateful that you wrote a book. If someone wanted to check out the book, where can they find it?
They can go to Amazon.com right now. And I'm in the process of trying to decide if I want to put it on a Kindle as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll put it in the link right now, the show notes for the Amazon one. And then if it end up being a Kindle, I'll just edit this and then I'll put that link in too.
Yeah, just believe in yourself, but don't self-reject.
Love it. Lacy, if anyone wanted to reach out to you, how can they find you?
Yes, you can find me at sharedhygiene.com, or you can email me at sharedhygienellc@gmail.com, or you can reach me on Instagram at LACYRDH or at ShyGenist.
Thank you very much for being on.
All right, thank you so much.
A tale of two hygienists.